La 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 la. Hi, I'm Tom, this is a Casual Hiker's Guide, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be doing a review of, well, of this shoe. So I chose or decided that I was going to do a review of the Altra Olympus 5's based off the fact that they're the second pair that I've bought, and I actually have purchased a lot of hiking shoes and trainers, so I feel like in terms of what you can get out of a shoe and what I expect from a shoe, I'm quite familiar with. I do have other bits of gear that I could potentially do reviews on, but I feel like I haven't had enough experience with any other bits of gear. So whilst I very much love my Thermarest sleeping bag and I very much love both of the tents that I have, and I have had other sleeping bags, you know, before, I haven't quite been through as many as I have been shoes. I've probably still got about 3 pairs that I actively use, and that's, you know, not including the pair that I've recently replaced. So the reason that I want to review the Altras is because, for me personally, they are, I mean, dare I say it, at the moment they're the perfect shoe, or it feels like they're the perfect shoe. By that, what I mean is that they might not be the perfect shoe for you, and it's more of a considering what the benefits are and how they work for me and what suits you as a person, because everybody's going to have their individual requirements as to what they need. A lot of what I do day hikes, I do long distance, you know, day hikes, sort of. I mean, I say long distance, some people do 60 miles. I'm not an ultra runner or anything along those lines, but I've certainly hiked 20-25 miles throughout a day, no problem. And the other thing that I do, or like to do, is through hiking. This year I did 1 day of the Dartmoor Way, so that went exceedingly well. The Dartmoor Way, I had to stop because my underpants split, which was an incredibly, totally not embarrassing story, but essentially I had a pair of hiking pants and they just tore, and I didn't realise until the end of the day. So that was an extremely painful lesson learned, and I've certainly invested in some very good underwear. Maybe that's what I'll do my next review on, would be the Sax underwear, because I mean, that stuff's great. I mean, it works so well for men, obviously, for obvious reasons. I obviously rectified the underwear issue. I have done through hikes before and never had an issue with underwear, by the way, in the past. I don't know why that one was such an issue that day, but it did, you know, make me realise that actually, just in case, I need to make sure that I have got the best stuff on. So when I did the coast to coast, fixed that issue, and I did the coast to coast in this shoe. Now, this is my old pair of Altras. There's 2 reasons why I've replaced them. One is that, I mean, the grip is ever so slightly starting to wear. If you have a look just around this section here, you can see that it's really slightly going. But to be honest, I've done, if you think about it, 300 plus miles, maybe 400 plus miles in this shoe alone, or in these shoes alone. It's lasted exceedingly well, and I'm really happy about that. The other thing as well, this pair that I bought, I actually bought them and they were a little bit too big. So I did end up wearing a little bit of the inside of the shoe, which you can't see, but just down in there, there's a little bit worn out there where my feet could move around a little bit too much. And I did also end up with quite bad blisters underneath, underneath the front of my foot. But again, 2 things that caused that was really bad wet weather that I wasn't expecting, and also a shoe that was too big. The other thing as well, you may have seen in my last video that I actually bought the Hoka Speedgoat 5's for the reason of doing a long distance hike, and the issue that I had with those, and something that these shoes fix, was that this side here, and again, sorry that the shoe is a bit dirty, I literally came back from a week away recently hiking. But this side here, for me, was too narrow. So it was really pressed up against my little toe, which meant that when I was walking, the two toes on that outside were completely shredded. All the skin had come off, awful blisters. And at that time, initially I put it down to you know, wet weather and these sorts of things, but it's something that keeps happening. So I wear the Speedgoat 5's now for shorter distance, like 10, 11, 12 miles. But when I start going over that distance, they can really start to become quite a bit of an issue for me. That's not an issue with the shoe necessarily, that's my feet personally. Again, this is what it's all about. It's down to personal preference, you know, and again, foot size, etc. can be the issue. Other than that, the Speedgoat 5's were absolutely amazing. The only other thing about hiking with the Speedgoat 5's is they do have a bit of a, what do you call it, an arc, which when you're potentially scrambling, etc., can potentially cause a bit of an issue, but I've never had that much of a problem in them, to be honest. They've been pretty good. So, on to the shoe. I'm going to start with really the basic stuff. First of all, little loop on the back, basic thing, but absolutely great to get your shoes on and off, and it's really handy. There is one on the Speedgoat 5, which again is that there. The only issue with the one on the Speedgoat 5 is it does actually open the shoe up a little bit, and I think once or twice maybe I've had a little stone go in the back. The other thing, basic thing on here, is on the back you have a little bit of Velcro and a little clip on the front here, so you can attach gaiters, etc. to the shoe, so you can keep your, you know, upper part of the shoe at least dry. The outer fabric of the shoe is very nice. It's light, it's airy, it is not waterproof. There is a waterproof version of the shoe. The reason that I haven't gone with waterproof for this one is because for me personally, I prefer my feet to be able to dry out. I did have a pair of boots that I wore on a day out once that were waterproof, great shoes, and I still wear those ones, but I went walking through some fern and the water from the fern literally just dripped down into my boot. It was a perfectly dry day, but the water came straight down into the boot and I ended up with wet shoes all day, which is fine when it's just a day hike. That's perfectly fine. You can deal with that, you know, wet feet for one day, not an issue. When you're through hiking, it is a bit of an issue because you can't dry out a pair of shoes like that overnight. Whereas a pair of shoes like this, pretty much dry as you're walking them in them, to be honest with you. You know, and a bit of water on your feet when you've got a pair of shoes like this on, I don't find as that much of an issue. Personally, for me, I can walk all day in them wet. However, one issue that there is with the outer fabric being so thin, etc., and it's not a big hard, you know, boot, if you do go walking through a field or something like that and you go walking through some thistles or anything along those lines, I have had it a few times where I've had a thistle stuck in the shoe and it's been very annoying and very difficult to get out. But other than that, I think pretty good. It does have some rubber around the front just to protect the front part of the shoe. You've also obviously got the front part, the sole there, which will protect you up against, you know, really badly stubbing your toe. So that's all good. The laces, personally, I like them. I've heard people say all sorts of things about the laces, but I think they're good. They work well for me and I like the laces, so that's my opinion on them. They're lightweight and yeah, I just don't have an issue. So, getting on to some of the other parts of this shoe. You've got a nice little bit of cushion around the sides on the inside here, which press up against your ankle. I personally find that for comfort, that's just quite a nice little feature that's in there. It's not just flat against the ankle. The big thing about the Altras is that it has zero drop. So even though it looks like there is a bit of a heel on, if you follow the rubber of the heel, it does come up this way. But actually, if I stick my fingers inside, it's down to there, down to there. And if you put your finger there and there, you can see that is flat. There is zero drop in this shoe, which is a more natural feel. It does take a little while to get used to. If I'm just walking in them, and I haven't been wearing a zero drop for a while, I do feel a little bit on my Achilles. I feel a little bit of stretching down there for the first couple of miles, but that soon goes, and once it is gone, I feel so much more comfortable in these, to the point where the pair that I've got that are worn out and a little bit big, I'm going to start wearing those, you know, for regular day-to-day activities, really, because I just prefer it. I think it's so much better for me personally. The other thing that we've got is the Vibram grip. I keep on calling it Vibramium or something, but it's not, it's Vibram. The Vibram grip, as I discussed previously, is really, really good. On the other shoes that I've got, it's not worn out for, like, I've walked so many miles in them, and it's just amazing how long it lasts. I have bought a pair of my very first pair of trail shoes. When I got rid of them, you know, somebody else needed a pair, and so I got rid of them for like a tenner, which is good because they still had grip on the bottom, but the grip was really starting to go and it was really starting to fade. So the fact that these have done, or my other pair have done, so many more miles and the grip's still there is incredible. And it is a really, I feel like I'm really stuck to the ground in these. I feel like these are really good. So another enjoyable fact. Lastly, the other thing is the toe box. As you can see, if we hold them up next to each other, there is a big difference in the toe box on the two. Most of them are sort of tapered and they come in, and that's normal for shoes. Whereas on these ones, it's big and round out here, and I mean, looking at it now, it looks perfectly normal to me, but it did look really weird when I started wearing them. But I mean, looking at this side, it's quite clear. It's the shape of a foot, and that is the way that your foot is shaped, and I just find it so comfortable. My toes can really sort of stretch out. I find that it's a perfect fit. The only other thing that I can mention that I think is important is that there is the Lone Peak shoe as well. So you've got the Olympus 5 and you've got Lone Peaks. The Lone Peaks are pretty much identical as far as I'm aware. The only issue, it's not an issue, the only difference is that the sole is thinner. Now, for me personally, I'll be honest, I find it a bit daunting, the idea of wearing a shoe that has almost no sole. I can get quite sore feet walking around, and if I'm on my feet for a long time, say I'm doing like a 20-25 mile hike, my feet will really start to be sore at the end of that 25 miles. I'll really start to feel a bit of pain, and I just like the idea of having, or I suppose it kind of reassures me, having that extra bit of cushion and padding that you get along the bottom. That is why I bought the Hoka Speedgoat 5's originally, was because they had that padding and the Lone Peaks didn't, and that was the reason that I went for them. I didn't know that this was an option. I didn't know that the Olympus 5 was an option for me. The benefits I am aware of having a thinner sole is that you can feel the ground beneath you, and it makes it much more tactile. So if you're climbing a ridge, or you're walking across quite a rocky surface, you've got a really good idea of what the ground is and what's underneath your feet, so that you can maneuver and adapt very quickly, whereas this doesn't give you quite the same feel underneath. But for me personally, more cushion is better for me, and I prefer having the extra there. So that's pretty much it for this shoe. It's more of a letter of love than a review, I suppose, for the Altras. Like I say, I have tried many other shoes and boots. I'm absolutely sure that there are many other good shoes and boots out there. It is dependent on you as a person and what suits you. So go out there and try them. There's only one real way to test it, and if you're unsure about how you're going to be in a lightweight shoe that isn't waterproof, you've got to try them on. And maybe I should take my own advice. Maybe I'll get a Lone Peak pair next, and we'll see how they go, and I'll fall in love with them, who knows. But for now, anyway, this is my go-to shoe. Like I say, I've got about 10 pairs, and yeah, for me at the moment, 10 out of 10. Well done. All right, thanks guys. Anyway, I don't really have an intro or a way to sign off these videos at the moment, because this is brand new to me. I haven't done any reviews, so I guess I'll just see you on the next hike, whenever that is, next week. Yeah, I'll see you next week. Bye.